Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Now, this is the podcast for just the 10 of us that are actually going to be listening to this bullshit. Now, of course, you have me, David Lee, who is, in fact, in second place. And you also have...
Matt, currently first place, defending champion. Hopefully to be two-time champ.
And if there's one thing I just noticed, you're afraid of the mic. Because speaking of the mic, we have a new one. Now, what do you think about this mic? Is it pretty sexy? Do you want to put your lips on it?
I want to completely indulge it, just shove the whole thing in my mouth to get the best audio quality possible. Because that's what they said at the store. They said you need to completely shove it down your esophagus, and then that will give you the best possible.
And with that, what did you respond with? Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of
we need to get that audio clip of the Everything is Awesome for the Fantasy Baseball Podcast and play it every time one of us says awesome. But we can't just say it just to get the audio clip. We got to actually... Oh, no.
We got to actually... It's when it's on accidents or when it's all natural. Which, of course, we know that somebody's team is not natural because it keeps on winning and winning and winning. And that is, of course, our first place. The champion of the league.
Well, I didn't win this week. So we're recording this podcast during the Sunday night game. Essentially over. The Angels are up 8-0 last time I checked. So
yes, and that is the final game. And the great thing about this final game between the Angels and the A's, we have a matchup which can potentially make Kevin into a playoff contender. And now, how has he done? How has Kevin done in the final day of his regular week?
Well, he's gone ham. Kevin started off bad with Iwakuma getting blown up. But I looked at him going into this Sunday night game, and he was down 10 points. Scott Kazmir was on the mound, and he had four Angels players being Hamilton, Trout, and I believe Howie Kendrick, and he also had Houston Street as the closer. And that really set it up perfectly. If Kazmir gets blown up by these Angels pitchers, and then Street comes and get the save,
it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
And also, it was interesting to see that when they first went into this week, they were both having two pitchers each. And in today,
two extra starts. So 7 starts.
Yes. And so with that, this whole entire week, there's been one thing I've noticed, or with today actually, is that a lot of pitchers have sucked ass. And it's just interesting to see that each player between Kevin and Blake, each one of them had to have had a pitcher that's just sucked balls.
Yeah, that's really what comes down to with a lot of these matchups is who cashes in their starts. It's really important. I think, maybe one of the things I'm going to look back on my matchup that I lost to Angie is, I had Kyle Kendricks who went -2 after 2 innings. He gets rained out. There's a lot of luck that goes into this game, and it's kind of unfortunate it comes down to, but it's what we all signed up for.
Because we ran off Kevin after Iwakuma just sucked balls, right? There was
Not me, no.
I just looked at it. I was like, there's no freaking way that Kevin's going to come back.
No, I saw he had his pieces lined up in chess.
Yes, but it had to go all perfectly. And Mike Trout just had to go ham, and actually he's up right now, so we're actually able to watch it live.
You understand my point where, if everything kind of goes the way where Kazmir gets blown up, the Angels hit well, and then the Angels get the save. Kevin doesn't need the save now. Mm-hmm. But it's different if you have two pitchers going off against each other, or you have the Oakland hitters and then the Angels pitcher. Then they kind of cancel each other out, so you kind of limit yourself.
Yep.
But with kind of the players that Kevin had lined up, he had this high upside.
Oh yes, especially with the whole points. If his player gets a hit against that pitcher, it's a +3 instead of a +1.
Yeah.
And it's just and so Kevin, of all people, has risen like the phoenix and has shown us that he can actually become a playoff contender.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about kind of the scenario of the standings as they are right now, assuming that Trout just hit a home run, so Kevin's gone got it. So essentially, the first thing we need to clarify with these standings is that according to the settings we have, the tiebreaker is total points for. Mm-hmm. So if you have the most points of the season and you have more than the person you're tied with, then obviously you're gonna have a higher place over them. So. I'm in first right now. After today, I'll be up 1 game on Kelly and you. But in order for me to lose my first place title for the final standings, I need to lose. One of you needs to win, and you have to overtake me by 300 points, which really isn't possible. So really, it's me the first spot, so I'll play whoever comes out of the 4th seed, and we'll talk about that in a second. Really, the 2nd and 3rd seed is essentially you and Kelly, and it really doesn't matter which place you seed.
No, because it doesn't matter if you're, as they consider, home or away.
Yeah.
So the 1st and the 4th place, oh my God, is like who would you prefer to play?
I don't know. I want to talk a little bit about the 4th, how it's kind of shaking up. So currently, there's 3 teams with 11 wins, and you're going to need probably 12 wins to win. And really, it comes down to this tiebreaker. And right now, Blake has the tiebreaker, so he's going to be tied with Kevin after this week, along with Jason. Jason has a very low points for, so it's highly unlikely that he can win. The only really way he can win is if he wins, and then Blake and Kevin both lose.
Yeah.
So I think I'm playing Blake's next week, and Kelly is playing Kevin. So it's really unlikely that Jason can win. It really comes down to Kevin and Blake.
Mm-hmm.
So if Blake wins, then he's in no matter what. And if Kevin wins and Blake loses, then Kevin wins. So, Kelly and I really have a lot to say about who's going to be in this 4th seed. And I could actually, if I wanted to be a dick, I can kind of choose who I want to play between them. But the only fair thing to do is to play my hardest to try and, like a regular game. I need to get in.
Because the last thing you want to do is fix who you're going to play against.
Yeah.
That would be one of the biggest, dickest moves that you can actually do.
Yeah. But I'm looking at kind of those 3 players' rosters. Jason, sorry, Jason, you're obviously the weakest with all your injuries. You've had a good year, and you've gotten a lot of wins when you didn't have a whole lot of points for. But I think that everything's kind of starting to catch up with you.
And also with Jason, one of the great things about our league is you don't have to be the top scorer in the league. All you have to do is beat the person that you're against.
Yep.
And so he has actually gone week in and week out and beat that person that he's against. So I just give Jason all the credit in the world for what he has done.
Sure. He knew the rules, and he's winning based on these rules.
That's why I'm glad we're in a league where it doesn't matter by how much points you have in that total week. Mm-hmm. It's all about the matchup that you have, and are you actually going to be better than that person? Yeah.
So really, Blake has been kind of the better player over the season, but Kevin has been really hot lately. And Kevin's got a lot of players who can be kind of streaky, so he's really kind of a guy who can sneak up on you, and he has a really good bullpen. With starting pitching, he took a big loss with Richards, but really, I think starting pitching is really easy to replace to find guys on the wire. Like, look at me. I got these 2 Cub pitchers, Kyle Kendricks and, what's the other guy's name?
Just some 2 up-and-comers that just have blown away the league.
Yeah, so that's, I'll kind of share some of my strategy. That was my strategy coming in. After I got screwed with all those injuries last year, I decided to not rely so much on these pitchers and kind of stream and pick up the hot guy in the wire. It's worked out pretty well, and throughout the season, I'd have someone like Corey Kluber, who's really good now, but he was pretty good when I had him. Trade him away when he's hot. Same with Johnny Cueto, and try to get some positional value, and it's worked out pretty well for me.
And that's been one of your biggest strengths is that you actually take the time to go and look up those players.
Yeah,
and I actually have thought that this is the one year where everybody has almost upped their game on how they're going to play this year.
Yeah, the majority of people.
Yeah. No matter if you're having some terrible luck like Johnny, but everyone in this league wants to win.
Okay. Anthony's, he wants to win, but I don't think he wants to put in all the effort. And Angie, I think this is her final year playing. Mm-hmm. She kind of does it a favor, I think, this year to play with us. She's not playing anymore, but I still appreciate her playing and, someone we know. And she was pretty good last year, and I think this year she just kind of got busy and she wasn't winning, so she just kind of, put it on the side.
Yeah, but one thing we want to do is just commend everybody for the season that they've given. And I just love it how no one just gave it up on the year and just dropped all their players like I did last year, which was a really dick move.
I was going to mention that. I wanted to remind you, David, that we have another week to play.
This is my 1-year anniversary for the biggest fuck up that could have been.
Yes.
And Kevin, I am really sorry for that day that is from a year ago.
I heard that Kevin was in a hotel room. He was half asleep. I think he was hungover. Looked at his phone, saw what David did, and according to eyewitnesses, threw down his phone on a cushion in disgust.
I would do the same. I like when you told me, you're like, "Hey, David," because you remember when I came home, I was just I think I had a couple drinks when I got here, and then you saw me afterwards. I was like in a drunken state, and I was just like, fuck this. Yeah. And I go back into my room, I drop all my players, and then the next morning you look at me and you're like, dude, you realize that we have another week to go?
Yeah, but here was the funniest thing is that I was playing you that week, and for like 2 days, you had like no one on your roster, and you still beat me that week. And that was the year I won baseball, so that was funny.